Qatar is supposed to be a country that nobody is allowed to attack, and that rule was broken on September 9th, and there are going to be consequences for a lot of countries, including the United States. A little intro about Qatar. It's this tiny little country right off the coast of Saudi Arabia, not too far from Iran in the Persian Gulf. Its neighbor is the UAE. They don't like each other very much, and as you could see, it is pretty far away from the country that attacked it, which it really had no reason to. If you're curious why I won't name the country that attacked it, it's because this app doesn't like it when I do, so bear with me. Now, Qatar is one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. While their GDP of $240 billion in 2024 is ranked 54th on the planet, just below Nigeria and above Hungary, they are ranked number 9 when it comes to per capita income. So yeah, they have a lot of money from all the fossil fuel wealth. In fact, Qatar is the world's largest exporter of LNG, liquefied natural gas, which is something Europe was begging for once Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. So Qatar had and still has a great deal of leverage over Europe just for those energy needs alone. But aside from it being a very wealthy country, they are also a mediator for tensions in the Middle East, and they've been a mediator for that particular age group that everybody knows who I'm talking about. Now, in this whole mess, Qatar is uniquely positioned in the Middle East to be an ideal mediator because they don't really like Saudi Arabia all that much. They understand that Saudi Arabia is the greatest economic power of the region, but they don't want to be subject to the whims of Saudi Arabia. They don't want to have to go by the decisions that Saudi Arabia makes for OPEC. You could say they have a very fierce independence streak. Now, while they have a lot more cultural ties with Saudi Arabia, they are also, at least Qatar, they are quite friendly with Iran, which historically has been a rival towards Saudi Arabia. You know, Iran is Shia, Saudi Arabia is Sunni. They both want to be the major power brokers of the region. Now, you cannot mention Qatar and rivalry without including the UAE, also known as the United Arab Emirates. The UAE is much more close and has a warm relationship with Saudi Arabia, even though they have had bits of friction, but nowhere near as bad as Qatar. In fact, these two countries have had media wars. Al Jazeera is based in Qatar and Sky News is based in UAE, and they both have opposing narratives. The UAE and Saudi Arabia, a couple other countries in the Middle East, are much more cooperative with the West, while Qatar is a bit more, let's just say, calculating in its dealings with the West, and they do give a great deal of support to Iran and other Islamist movements. In fact, tensions against Qatar got so high, not just with the UAE and Saudi Arabia, but also Bahrain and Egypt, to the point where they were actually blockaded. So yeah, these 4 countries did absolutely no trade whatsoever with Qatar from 2017 to 2021 until they decided to ease tensions and open up trade again. But either way, whatever your predispositions are, Qatar has shown that they can play evenly both sides, even the one that is considered much more extreme. And of course, the relationship that Qatar has with the country that just recently attacked it on September 9th, they haven't had diplomatic ties since 2009, and even those weren't very strong. But the one country that Qatar has a great relationship with is the United States. In fact, the US keeps the largest airbase in the Middle East, right by Doha, which is the capital of the country. They are a major non-NATO ally of the United States. So attacking Qatar means you are dealing with heat from the US. And that country that I can't name had the audacity to launch an airstrike on that territory, violating their sovereignty. They killed 5 people, low-ranking members, and they also killed a Qatari official. And the attack wasn't against military assets. It was against negotiators towards a potential ceasefire. And the only reason why the attack happened in Qatar is because ever since 2012, that age group was encouraged by the United States to move its headquarters to Doha. And the attack was done without any consultation of the United States, meaning that that country I can't name went lone wolf and failed miserably. And even though the US is trying to show a united front with the country that did attack Qatar, they are infuriated by this disruptive influence because Qatar was supposed to be given a total protection guarantee from the United States, which was violated. In fact, it's rendered useless. And while the United States has promised that this won't happen again, how could they possibly guarantee it if the country that attacked Qatar isn't going to tell them? Now, just yesterday, Qatar has decided to step back from its mediator role, but they also held a meeting with all of the neighboring Arab leaders. They also met with Iran. And there are discussions not only about how these countries can start arming themselves because maybe they can't rely on US protection, they are also thinking about how they can economically and further militarily strengthen Iran. And even Turkey is considering this. And what if that starts happening? What if we start to see a rearmament of the Middle East? What if Turkey starts producing even more Bayraktar drones, but that they're using against certain countries that maybe America doesn't want them to? Maybe each of these countries will start producing their own munitions, or they'll just start buying a lot more American weapons, or if they can't get those, they'll start importing from Russia and China. What if these countries, with the exception of Turkey, become less cooperative when it comes to using their airspace? There's just a lot of destabilizing factors into the mix right now because the United States isn't enough of a deterrent to keep away certain forces, and there is a country in the Middle East that is no longer respecting the sovereignty of close U.S. allies. That's not good. I am the Geo Husar. I hope this gets resolved peacefully, diplomatically, and without violations of international law, like, killing negotiators. Thanks for watching.